Guys, I've been guiding people into the most epic and rugged cold conditions for over 8 years, and I've trained hundreds of other instructors to do the same. And what I'd love to do is share this knowledge of what I've learned over this time to help people get the most out of their trips, as well as to avoid the biggest mistakes when going out into the cold. Now, on Saturday, I held an online session breaking down exactly what gear to bring to Alaska or, frankly, any other cold, rugged adventure setting. I also talked about why prioritizing an adventure retreat once per year or every other year is essential to anchoring your daily training, reward your work, and contribute to a lifetime of health and resilience. And I also discussed the top mistakes both people and trainers make, as well as how to avoid them to ensure the best and safest experiences in the cold. Now, the following video here is just a small clip of that content. The session lasted for about an hour. If you missed it, don't worry. I've got two more coming up on Sunday, September 22nd. If you'd like to join for free, all you have to do is send me a direct message with your email address, and I'll make sure you get the invitation link. Now, on to the content. Enjoy.
I'm excited to hear this.
The whole point is high value to help people, regardless if you're coming to the Alaska trip. I want people to have the ability to go out into nature safely, know what to pack, and then from the trainer's point of view, because that's also, I'd like to discuss that point of view, of course, what should you bring on behalf of the people that you're taking out to nature? What are the important essentials? They set up a reason to train on a daily basis. But using the cold to turn your daily stress into daily strength is one of the most powerful things you can leverage. And sometimes, as humans, we need a reason to show up, right? When you've got something on the horizon, something substantial that you know kind of scares you, right? It puts you outside of your comfort zone. It just, and it's probably like a healthy fear. It's a good thing. It's like, oh man, that's intense. Do I really want to go do that? The answer is, yeah, you do. You set those things up in your life as you're able, and put them on the time horizon because you will train for that. Much more likely, right? And then if you can do it with another buddy, you can rope somebody in and have an accountability partner. Now you've just leveraged two of the root stresses, right? And you're goal oriented with it. So you got this idea of a beautiful relationship. So you're keeping each other accountable. You're excited about it. You get all those happy hormones and everything that go along with your anticipation and preparedness. And then you get to go do this wonderful payoff where you get in the intensity. So that's really what those bucket list level trips are about. And now, how do we go out there and do it safely? How do we do it, right? So let's get into this. So I tell everybody at least pack the following items, minimum recommended list in how to pack. I always think about packing in reverse order if I'm thinking about day pack. So in other words, what is the thing I'm going to need first? That should be the last thing I pack. So it's the easiest thing to grab right out of the box. The next thing I'm going to need to put on, okay, that's the next thing in the bag, and so on and so forth. And if you reverse that, that little extra care that takes you probably an extra 5 minutes is all, or 10 minutes to really think about, you're out there in the stress, in the cold, it makes it 10 times more enjoyable. Winter clothing, base layers. I recommend at least 2 pair of base layers because one, they're light. You can pack them in your day pack just in case something gets wet. And those, I love the Smartwool stuff. Smartwool is one of my favorite brands. Wool is the king. Wool and down are the kings out in cold country. So I love to layer, especially if we're talking about being cold practitioners, because half the time shorts and coming out, well, I may only need one base layer at the beginning. I'm not going to pile on just like a giant super heavy jacket right away out of the cold. That tends to be actually problematic because you end up having the hypothalamus trigger the release of vessels too fast, and you end up getting cold blood circulating with warm blood at an expedited rate. And then what? You start to get this after-drop, this cooling effect where the core body temperature is actually declining. And that can actually be quite dangerous, not only miserable, but dangerous in certain conditions. Last year in Alaska, we had our coldest year by 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and what would that be in Celsius? At least 25 degrees Celsius, right? So we're talking about a major shift in temperature. And you don't want to have extra dangers as you're hiking into wilderness areas, right? There's already enough there. And so just taking that precaution about building layers in your pack and having something that can be warm even when wet. And wool does that. So I love wool sweater. Mini spikes. People really fail in this area. I check mini spikes every year when I train the level 2 instructors for the Wim Hof method. And inevitably, I see half or more of the group with just a pair that's worthless. And they don't know any better. So I'm not criticizing anybody. People are doing their best. But what are we actually looking for that's worth the money? Because guess what? You can pay 20 or 30 bucks for these. That's USD. Um, and you can get a pair that's good or a pair that's not good. You're going to pay the same amount. So it's not like you're going to be saving a bunch of money. Here's what you want. You want spikes on the end of these suckers, right? Sharp spikes. That's what's going to give you the traction. What's not going to give you the traction is all those little coils and any or like the ones that have like just a tiny little spike on the end, or like they're almost look like golf shoes for inside. It's like those are terrible. Don't ever bring those. Now, when you have something like this, or you can even carry them. I've got a pair of Snowline. These have been great. I've used them for multiple seasons. They pack tiny. These Chinks or Simics, I guess is what this one's called. I like these too, but they're a lot more bulky, you know. So both are really good in terms of functionality, but if you're looking for space conservation, the Snowline, man, it's nice. And they work great. One thing though is these do break from time to time because of the rubber, right? So the rubber can break. So I always tell people, go to the store, get these cable ties. These can repair and use, they can repair these to actually wrap around your boot, right? So you can strap them on, and that's really nice instead of having something that's broken that's not going to be functional and dragging a cleat. So from a trainer point of view, you should always have those for your clients. Water shoes. So water shoes are very, very helpful anytime you're going out to nature. So you can have a simple water sock, and it's just got like basically a hard surface on the bottom, just a rubber sole on the bottom. And that really helps navigate rock, all kinds of stuff. If you don't have this, I'll tell you, when you're in deep cold, if you step on a sharp rock, it'll cut your feet and you won't even feel it. And now all of a sudden you're dealing with an injury, right? Or an infection, or both. So that can be a really big problem. That'll ruin the rest of your trip. And people go light on these kind of things. Don't go light. Get a good water sock. Now, depending on how conditioned your feet are, you don't necessarily need to have it be a thermal or a neoprene. You could just have it standard. But I'll tell you, last year I had everybody pick up a neoprene pair, and these were awesome. These are an NRS brand, is the name of the brand for these guys. And these were phenomenal. They've got neoprene. I believe these are about 3 millimeter, but they go up to all the way to 8 millimeter. I think that's unnecessary, but for some people that have really sensitive feet and you're maybe new to the practice and you're going to extreme conditions for the first time, it might be worth getting the more robust one. Another one you can do is you can get these hands. The hands do the same thing. Now, I don't need hands. I don't really have any trouble because I'm pretty conditioned. But for those that do, it can be extremely painful to go in really deep cold water, especially if you've got ambient temperature that's in the negative temperatures as well. And what that does for people that's really miserable is the capillaries just lock, and that can be a really big distressing factor for people. It's rare, but it does happen, right? And so if you want to avoid that and you're not really well conditioned, bring those neoprene gloves. And even something as 1 to 3 millimeters are great, but they go all the way up to 8. Always bring duct tape. Duct tape is the infinite fixer. Plus, you can even make duct tape into a fire starter, right? So in wet weather, lighting a fire, should that become necessary, can be difficult, but duct tape can be your fire starter, right? So it's an excellent resource that can fix equipment, that can adapt in 100 different ways. put a roll of duct tape inside your pack. If you like this content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you know somebody that could actually benefit from it, go ahead and share this video with friends and colleagues. And that way we can all be out in nature and get the best and most out of it.